Hi, good evening. Welcome to another session of random talking. Yeah, so yeah, it's a lot of us have lost a lot of our family members or relatives or people we know or friends we know. So yeah, it's tough times. But off late I'd been connecting with a couple of my school friends and college friends, and a lot of them are like, you're very confident, Cheryl. You've always been, like that stage popular person. So I like the phrase popular person. So most of them, at least who are in touch with me, like currently or through social media or some kind of a thing, at least 90%, or trust me, even in my house, they didn't know until last week when I told them the whole story. They didn't know about what all happened, so they don't. So everybody thinks I'm very blessed, gifted, that I can talk on the stage, but very few would recall me from my earliest school days. So I'm not going to put names of teachers or students or whatever it is. It could be made up names. Okay. So don't go by the exact, it won't be the exact name, so relax. um, and this is not anybody's fault, neither mine nor my parents nor the teachers. It's just it just made me stronger as a person on the whole. So let me get started. So LKG I studied somewhere near my house. So it's like more of a Kannada oriented region. So it's the local language here, and they speak that very fluently. And I was very good at reading and writing in Kannada. And I went into this school, and most of them are localites, and not such educated parents. So the children are comfortable talking in their native language. And For me that was good. I picked up quite soon, and my mom was into teaching me all those rhymes and things. It's an English medium school, but it is Kannada, local language dominated kind of a thing. So we were like pretty good, and I was a class leader in LKG. LKG is a small class, I know. So I was doing well, like with all the rhymes and everything on time and all that. So once LKG got over, they kind of figured out that I knew things. I kind of knew everything that was done in UKG too. So I wrote an exam, and they were ready to promote me to first standard. So LKG and first standard, so no upper kindergarten. Now it's Montessori system. Back then it was LKG, UKG, first standard. So after LKG, I was straight away promoted to first standard. Meanwhile, my dad got to know about. So he's an armed, military person. So he figured out schools called as Kendriya Vidyalaya, and he wanted me to enter any of the Kendriya Vidyalayas within Bangalore. Meanwhile, my dad took a VRS when I was two. So when he took a VRS and came back, voluntary retirement for service, I was just 2 years old. So there is a quota where the ex-serviceman's kid can get a seat there. So it's like they have some 1% to 2% reservation for those kind of quotas. So my dad wanted me to get into that, and I wrote the entrance exam in Kendriya Vidyalaya. I think at least 3 Kendriya Vidyalaya. So the teaching was very rigorous by my mom, because again it's CBSE, and the thing with KV was at the age of 5 you can join first standard. So now what happened is I'm straight away going from a state syllabus LKG to first standard of a CBSE syllabus. That, I mean, I don't know how much it mattered, or I couldn't relate to this difference in the boards and all that back then. So my mom was like, teaching me at home, how do you do 2 plus 2 and all that. It was heavy mental math and all that pressure. And I was writing exams in different schools, and every day my mom was thrashing me for not knowing basic math. And she's like, is it all in the last minute that you have to learn and understand and all that? And my dad was at least till the age of 4, when I was in my granny's place, it was nice. But once we came here, he was like, okay, we got a little child here, let's train her. He's more of a trainer even now than a dad. He himself tells this, not me. He himself tells, like, these dangal wala dads, same, that type. But again, not on the physical arena, because I was not so physically, I don't know, he didn't want me to do, um, you know, what to say, enjoy a lot of sports and things. He was crazy about sports. He used to do a lot of games and plays and things, but he wanted me, he didn't kind of force through that path, anyways. And I was also not good at it, so blessing that he didn't do that. So for standard, so I write this entrance exam. I didn't get through any of the Kendra Vidyalayas. My name was not there on the list. So finally my dad decided me to put me in Air Force. So Air Force is another CBSE, and on the similar lines of, so he wanted me to write an exam the following year, because first standard we were not so prepared for the exams. So he told second standard exam we'll properly practice and go and get into that school. So first standard I joined the school, and I realized everybody speaks in Hindi only. So all I knew was Kannada, and that too basic Kannada, and English. So suddenly when it was like Hindi, and I didn't know a single word of Hindi. I didn't know. Only thing the first word I learned was pani. Okay, so pani pina, I want water to drink. So pani was the first word I learned. And my class teacher, she spoke my native language. So I'm a Malayali. She was a Malayali. So her name is Janet. So Miss Janet was there, and she found that. So she was writing notes. They write no English or all language, all subjects she used to teach. She was my class teacher. So Janet was writing on the board, and she didn't like me for some reason. I think I was an additional pain in the class for her, because I was a new admission, and I was around a month and a half late to class. So I didn't know what she had already thought. And it's suddenly, I'm in first standard, and everybody's using running handwriting, and I only knew the capital A B C D. Okay, so she wanted me to write that cursive handwriting, and I used to write. She used to be like, copy it down into your book. So I used to copy it the exact way, like I was pattern drawing. I didn't know cursive writing. So the other kids would finish writing, and I would still be writing. And the first thing she did was to beat me. She wouldn't ask me what was the issue or why I wasn't writing. She just thought I was a lazy kid who was, just being naughty and not writing. Her own child was like a year younger to me. So she used to take, there's a kid in the class, yeah, very annoying kids. He used to give the scale. So he had a scale, which is like a, foot ruler, the huge one, and it's thick. So I used to give her that scale, and she used to beat me with that. I was the only kid who was getting beaten in class. Like there are, let's say, 35 children in the class. I was the only one who was getting beating in class, and she used to make me sit on the floor. When there are other friends, maybe it's fun to sit on the floor and write and all that. And for me, it was very difficult, because when I was in LKG, I was the class leader. I was doing too good. I understood everything the teacher was teaching. I was the best student till then, kind of a thing. And suddenly in first standard, everything changed. I was sitting on the floor. I was not knowing the language. I couldn't communicate with people. And then this teacher was beating me in class in front of so many people. My mom was mad at me, because I was, she was teaching me to, pass in the following year's entrance into Kendra Vidyalaya. So there's a difference in the fee structure of Air Force and Kendra Vidyalaya. So if it's a KV fee is like X, then, the fee in Air Force is like 3X. Okay. Both are very low, first of all, compared to the current mind-blowing, fee structure that is too good. But still, it was more for my parents, because financially we were not that good back then. So first standard happened, and slowly my mom started teaching me at home. She understood that the handwriting was a difficulty for me, so she picked that up and taught me, and I started performing well in class. And then my teacher, Janet, she realized that it was not a lazy kid, or a kid who was just showing tantrums, didn't want to be here, kind of a thing. And I was genuinely struggling, and the thing she all told my parents was, your daughter doesn't speak a word. The thing is, she's beating me. After she's beating, I'm crying in that incessant, this level of crying. If you ask a kid what, I'm not even able to talk. After beating, if you're expecting me to talk, it's gonna be hard. So she did that. And second standard, again, she was my class teacher. So this time Janet realized that Cheryl is an awesome child. So I got straight A's that year, A's, and I think a couple of B's also. Hindi, I was a weak student in Hindi, because considered to compared to me, all the other kids in the class were like super good in Hindi and all that, because that's their mother tongue and they are North Indians. So that transferable job thing. So in second standard, I had a new girl called Ankita who came in. So Ankita didn't know my first standard, crying, sitting on the floor, and all that. Oh yeah, another thing that happened in first standard. It's kind of personal. I think I don't know if it's good to share, not to share, but that's the highest amount of vulnerability I'm putting in front of you, just so that you can picturize and understand where I come from. So there were two kids in the first row. I was sitting. Now I'm on the bench. Okay, like I picked up a little bit. It's around 8 months into the school. 6 7 months. Okay, let's give it a 6 7 months into the school. The two kids in the front row sitting, first row sitting and talking, and they were like, pencil nahi hai, pencil. So he took my pen, he took my eraser, kind of a thing. And teacher turns back and Janet ma'am turns back and she's like, one more sound by anybody in this class, I'm gonna throw everybody outside. This is what Janet said. And I was scared of Janet because Janet used to beat me, put me on the floor and all that. I was damn scared of Janet. And then what happened is um so once again I just so all this eraser and things, she told nobody should make noise in the class. One more person talks, I will throw you out of the class and beat you, all that. Back then beating was allowed, not like now it's banned and all that. So I wanted to go to the washroom. So I was so scared to even ask her, ma'am, can I go to the washroom? So I'm in the third or fourth row in the class. I walk through the side of the class and she's doing her math, some math on the board, and she's not even turning around and seeing if we are copying it down or anything, and she's very busy on the board. And I want to ask, but I'm so scared, and I was just waiting that she would turn around and notice me at some point. And I stood there and all the children in the class were looking at me and like, what are you doing, go back to your class, hey, kya kar rahi hai, and all that. And I was just standing there hoping she would turn and notice me, but then she turned and she was so mad. She was like, you are walking around in the class, what the freaking hell is wrong with you? Don't you understand when I tell you, Cheryl, you are the first student, I need to whack you. She had that whole pent up energy, and I urinated in the class. That was the moment where I thought I could have asked, and it would have been a lot better than being. And then right, kids, green touch, and all that. So for the next 1 week, I think nobody was talking to me, because I was in green touch zone. And then the Ayama came and she spoke to me in Kannada, and yeah, and she was like, why didn't you ask? I was just too scared. I didn't talk. I was scared she would beat me. I was scared people would laugh at me. I was scared of everything. Okay, so then when I went to second standard, I had a new friend, Ankita. So Ankita was sweet. She didn't know about whatever was happening previously, and she was good in English. I was good in English, so we gelled well, and so we became the best of friends. And I was a very introvert kid. I wouldn't talk to anyone, like randomly. I wouldn't sit and talk to anyone. It's just one person. So Ankita was my only point of reference. Ankita was my world, and that's end of story. Ankita was not like that. She used to talk to others. She was a class leader. So I used to just be around Ankita. It's just one person I talk to in the whole damn class. If she's absent, then that day is doomed almost for me. And I used to come back home, and suddenly what happened is Ankita's parents got a transfer, when we were somewhere 6 7 months down the line. She just came and she went. It was just like a matter of 6 7 months, and it was hard for me because she was my only friend. And all of a sudden, no notice, nothing, Ankita just happily came. She came with color pencils, and eraser, gifted us all that, and she told she's gonna miss the class. I mean, her parents told that, and she was like, okay. And I was like, Ankita, how can you just, like go away like that? I'm the only, you're the only person I talk to. But then Ankita was like, but you'll find new friends. But that was not nice. She just left. And that was hard, from there. Then I came to third standard again. I think I found friends, or I continue with however it was. Third standard, and the TV came into my house, and studies went down because parents are not there at home. They are working. Both my parents were working, and I was alone at home. I come back early, and they didn't kind of concentrate on me, and I also didn't concentrate on me. um, yeah, and I'm still giving. So first standard, second standard, third standard, all the 3 years I gave entrances into different Kendra Vidyalayas. So every time there's an interview to get into a KV as second standard, third standard, and I wouldn't clear those. And when I come back home, my dad's mad, my mom's mad, my mom's beating me, and my name is not there on the list. It's become maybe because I underperformed, or my answers were wrong, or anything like that. But I don't think that was a fact of it. They didn't want to give me a seat because they wanted the serving people, or their relatives and things like that to happen. um, and in fourth standard, somehow finally after the test, my name was still not on the list, but my dad went and spoke, and I told he told them, like, I make my daughter write till 10th standard, and still I don't get a seat. I'll take a photo with you all now, and in 10th standard put it in the newspaper. That was the moment when they were like, okay sir, please don't eat our head so much, get your daughter, we'll give her an admission. And I joined Air Force. So one thing I wanted to change about me was I will talk and I will study well, because third standard my marks were so bad, like all C's and D, C grade and D grade. And my dad went and spoke to the teacher, and he was like, how many children in the class? And she was like 35. So my dad was like, does my daughter come in the first five? Okay, my dad's very cut cutthroat, straightforward. So it's too straightforward. And my teacher was like, no, she's not in the top five. And I was like, is she in the top 10? He's like, the teacher's like, no. How does it matter? She's a good child. She's passed everything. She just needs to focus on a few subjects. As a good teacher. So this is a different teacher. Lalita is her name. It kept on like that. And my dad was like, is she in the top 15? And she said, no. Is she in the top 20? Teacher was like, I don't think so. Then my dad was like, is she in the top 30? And the teacher was like, I don't think so. So my dad said, there's just 35 students in the class. So I was in the last few, people in the class. So yeah, that day I came back home. I got whacked awesomely by my dad, and took my report card. He circled all the C's and D's and almost E's, kind of a thing. And we had a talk. E is like fail, okay? So I think I was very close to failing. So we had the talk, and he didn't like what I did, and I completely blamed the TV to spoil my life at that third standard level, 8 years old kid, telling him like everything happened because of TV. This is how I did it. And then I went into fourth standard into a new school in Kendra Vidyalaya, Air Force. So there was a temporary teacher who came in, because my actual class teacher, she was pregnant. So a temporary teacher came in, and her name was Neeru Miss, and she was an English teacher, luckily, and I was good in English, so she loved me a lot. And she was very good. Like, as a teacher, she was too good. That is my first teacher crush. Okay, when I say crush, in the sense, I absolutely loved everything she did. She was too good, yeah, too good. Like, with a bob cut, very young into this, very young to see and everything. And so there was, in fifth standard you get the head girl post. So she nominated me. I was bad in Hindi, but I made sure that I study well and I'm good in all the subjects. Apart from Hindi, I was bad with spellings, okay? Like, whether English or Hindi, I was bad with spelling. Hindi, I sucked completely with spellings. So Hindi teachers didn't like me much, because they are saying better answers from kids. The thing was, it was not my Hindi was bad. It was just that the other kids were too good, yeah. So yeah, and the Hindi teachers never liked me much. So in fourth standard, yeah, head girl. So fourth standard's over. Niru miss, she's a contract because till she returns, kind of a thing. So Niru miss again went off in 3 months. So the best people I like I love them. They go away very soon. So they leave me very fast, which is kind of scary for me. And it kind of continued, I think, except for very few people, handful of people who I kind of liked, and they stayed through my life. It's rare, and they're very precious to me. Yeah, so third, fourth standard, fifth standard head girl post. So Neeru ma'am or some other teacher, I think Vishalakshmi ma'am, my actual teacher, came back. So she nominated me and another girl. So that girl, she knows me from my previous school because she also moved from that school to here. She knows me from my previous school, and she's like, oh my god, she every time, even now, if she sees me, she'll be like, oh my god, you were that girl who used to always cry. I mean, she's the only reflection of me to remind me of how a crybaby I was. It was not that I was crying, it was that I was beaten a lot in class and put on the floor and all that. So in fourth standard, this head girl thing, and she and I stood together. That was my moment, because I was like, I was crying. Today I'm standing with you as nomination. But again, my Hindi teacher came in and she was like, this girl, her spelling is crap. She is not good enough for this job. And yeah, obviously I lost that thing. But again, I still made it to the head girls, what to say, I contested election, but I lost the match, kind of a thing. So I contested for Prime Minister's post, but I did not get it. Chal time. And then fifth standard, we had a new girl called Rashmita who came in. So Rashmita was I said, no, I was very introvert. I would only select one person, talk to one person. So that one person was Rashmita. Because all the others were friends, because they were already there from first and second and third and then all that consecutive friendship. For me, it was a little difficult. So Rashmita, for her, I was like, okay, new entry, now I'm going to select you, pick you and catch you and make you mine. It was like that. So Rashmita came in, I became friends with her, and she was an officer's daughter. Little into it, little, let's say for two months and more, Rashmita started ignoring me all of a sudden. She stopped talking to me. She was like, you're bad influence. I said, what have I done in order for you to feel I was bad for you? And I think her parents asked her not to hang out with me much, because I was not an officer's kid, and I didn't score well. And yeah, I don't know what. And so she just stopped talking to me out of the blue, and again, she was my only point of contact. And in the meantime, in the class, there were 4 girls. So these 4 girls talked to all the others. So it's a co-ed, okay? Basically, the boys and girls. But, obviously, it's like girls are talking to girls, boys are talking to... They have their own boy-girl fight and all that. So these 4 girls have told the entire class to not talk to me. So the whole of 5th standard, I think nobody spoke to me. I wouldn't take a single day off in school. Like, I wouldn't put a leave and stay back home, even if I was sick, like dying sick. Because the next day when I went back to school, nobody would give me their book. Nobody would share their notes with me. Nobody would help me out, and the teacher will not even understand why I am not trying to copy it down from somebody's book. Nobody will send their book home with me. So these 4 girls controlled the whole pack. I mean, I don't know if they realized or recognized how hard it must have been for me, because first of all, I didn't live in the quarters. My parents did not have any reference of anybody in school, and for me, it was so difficult. And Rashmita stopped talking, and I was so mad at her. And I was like, just come here, I just want one thing to ask. And I was like, you're my best friend, aren't you? Weren't you? I asked. And then I was so mad. I took my hand, I closed it and I thumbed it on her back. I think that is the only aggressive thing I have done in my whole life. And I was so scared after that, okay? I'm like, I'm sorry, Rashmita, I didn't intend to hurt you, but actually there was amount of pain that was there within me, which came out. I didn't know what to do. That's what I did. And yeah, her parents asked her not to talk to me anymore, and she felt bad for me. um, Forget her talking, nobody in the class spoke to me, and everybody, none of the girls in the class spoke to me, so nobody was talking to me, except one girl. So it was Kartika. I don't know what's the deal with her. She didn't care if the others spoke to me, didn't speak to me. She just tagged along with me. Others were talking to her, they were helping her out, but it was like they used to call her separately and ask her not to talk to me. Luckily for me, she chose to stay with me. I think of the lot of at least 3-4 people I still have. I am in Facebook, WhatsApp kind of a contact with. She's just one of them who's there, and her kindness is what made me survive a whole year and a couple of weeks in the school. I would say like whole of 5th standard and a little few days in 6th. So in KV, how it works is, first the next year school starts for a month, then we have a break for 2 months where you have holiday, homework and all that, and then you have school again. So every year, academic year, 1 month of 6th standard happens, then you have 2 months of break, and then 6th standard again continues. That's how the setting is. So I get into 6th, and now we are in secondary school. It's a totally new building, new teachers and everything. I was like, now let's properly study, let's not care who's talking. Anyways, nobody's talking. Boys were talking to me, girls nobody. Boys were confused as to why, I don't know, they were nice to me anyways, at least better than the girls were. To an extent, I was good at math, and there was one guy who was so interested in math, and we used to do those sums and everything, so I kind of survived basically. So 6th standard, we had this Hindi teacher, and I was bad with spellings, right? So she was like, you have to name, place, animal, thing, 4 things you have to mention. Of each varnamala ka har ek akshar se ek shabd banane hain, name, place, animal, thing ki tarah. So she started this game, and she followed a pattern like first bench, first row, second row, third row, fourth row. So I was in the 4th row, almost second last bench. So everybody had finished telling everything with those 4 things, and I didn't know what more to tell. So when she came to me, if she was talking about kh, I was giving her words from kh ala. Andre from I am giving her words. E, small e, I was giving her alphabets from bigger E. So if I have to tell it in an English context, it's like if she's asking for words from A, I was giving her words from B. It was like that. So that was a huge thing, and she held my ear, okay, and she held my ear and turned it, and she told, you are the first student I have ever punished with my hand. Yep. So I got the tag again. So naughty or non-responsive. It's not that I was being naughty, it was just that I didn't know. And soon I told my mom, I was very depressed, and I was not telling anything that was happening in school, at home, because my parents were occupied with their own work pressures, financial troubles, and a lot of things that they were going through at that time. And sometimes the way I've been beaten by my dad, I used to think I was an adopted kid, and if I asked for more things, they would like throw me out of the house. This is my whole idea. So I never told them anything. I was like, they blessed me, they're giving me food, they're giving me shelter, they put me in a great school, wonderful, thank you. That was my attitude from back then. Now I resemble my mom a lot, so the whole idea of being adopted is given up. So I used to not share anything at home, and even if I shared, I don't think my dad would only be like, you gotta be more strong. So I told my mom, like, I can't do this. I used to just come home and be off away from the home, like the terrace, and cry and all that. So I told my mom, I can't go back to the school. sixth standard happened, and then that vacation I told my mom, I don't want to go back to the school, and I'm not an officer's kid. They don't treat me well, they don't talk to me, nobody speaks to me. And even if I tell the teacher, how much can the teacher force them to talk? How can we even be friends on a forced level? So I changed my school again, a third time. So this time I decided nobody is bullying me, nobody is ignoring me, and I will study good, where I'm not in the red list of any of the teachers. So seventh, sixth standard, I moved into this new school, and everything changed for me. I started giving answers. The 2 months at home, the vacation I spent studying, I was ready with the first two chapters on all subjects. I stepped into school, I started answering, and then a group of girls, they were like, this girl's starting to answer. Oh my god, they were like, it's a new girl and she started giving all the answers, and she's the pet of all the teachers all of a sudden, and they don't no longer care about us. And for me, it was like, I'm not fighting against you, I'm fighting my own fears. Basically, for me it was that way. And I was still shy and very introverted, but I decided one thing: we're not having one friend, we're talking to everyone, keeping everyone as friends in class. So that's the first decision I made when I stepped in there: study well, be friends with all, so that if even if they get transferred or they leave you or they don't talk to you, it doesn't break my heart. So, and I was scared to take a very one person friend. It was very scary for me to do that. And I studied well, and in this new school, they named me Vayadi because I was very talkative. In seventh standard, I was the third rank holder in the class, which was huge for me. Huge. And oh, by the way, so when I first stepped in sixth standard to the new school, the previous school teacher who held my ear and turned it and told, "You're the only child I have punished my whole career in my life," she was my Hindi teacher in the new school. So she moved from that school to this school. I was like, how on earth is my misery following me? I was like, she's the only teacher in the secondary school who hit me, or I turned my ear, and she's here and she has such a bad impression of me, and now she's going to spoil the whole thing for me. This was like running in my head so badly. Luckily for her, she kind of saw me and she's like, I've seen you somewhere. I was like, yeah ma'am, I studied in Air Force, but I like a different school. And I'm like, she's like, okay, but I've seen you somewhere. She had that. And in this new school, by the way, surprisingly, though it was a Kendra Vidyalaya, they did not speak in Hindi. Okay, so they spoke in Kannada. Now these folks had a new problem. They were like, my Kannada is bad. So I was like, nobody's bullying me. Either I am bullying somebody, nobody's bullying me. But I didn't want to bully. I think I have troubled a few kids who were like not so good. They're like, I'm super good kind of a feeling. So I tried to crush them. I have done it. I'm not a saint. Here and there my evil things were there, but that's way later in class 9, class 10. But then I feel they deserved that to an extent, not a lot of extent. Sometimes I was too much. So in 7th standard, so 6th standard happened, 7th standard happened, I was the third rank holder. So studies part I was clear, teachers part I was clear. Teachers knew I was very talkative, but then I had never stepped on stage. 8th standard happens, my mom comes in as a contractual teacher in my school, and I told her never to mention that you're a teacher. I mean, I'm your daughter, not a teacher, I'm your daughter. So she comes into my class and I'm sitting in the classroom. For the first time seeing my mom as the teacher, and she's teaching and she's looking at me, I'm looking at her, she's smiling. She's again looking at me smiling, and then she couldn't take it. She's like, Cheryl, can you please stand up? And I was like, oh god damn, now what? And then I stood up and she's like, this is my daughter. I'm like, the one thing I told you not to let anybody know is what you first let everybody know. Okay, and that was my whole reaction to that feeling. But then it was good. So suddenly, when she was teaching, there was an announcement in the class, like, who wants to participate in some English poetry or declamation or something like that. So those, housewives, the captains would come and ask. And my mom was like, she looked at me. I was not putting my hand up for any of it, and she felt that I was good at all this. So she called the captain. So I was in some yellow house or Ganga house or something like that. So my mom was like, she spoke to the captain. She gave my name without me knowing, and she came home and she was like, why didn't you put your hand up? I've given your name for this competition. He'll give you the material. You will have to perform. I'm like, why would you do that? Everything is going so nice for me in the school. Why would you suddenly throw me into fire? And she gave me that, but whatever my name was given, she's like, we're not back withdrawing. You go blabber whatever you want. You're good in English. Go do it. So I took that. My heart was pounding, and trust me, I could feel it in my hands, my everything. Whole body was sweating and whatnot. So I went on stage, I spoke, and everybody clapped. I was like, okay, I was not bad. So I did that a couple of more times, and my mom had given me a grant, had put her name for everything. So my house captain was like, nobody's there, Cheryl will do. So 8th standard is when I started getting certificates for a lot of declamation, poetry, greeting card making. I think I have around 16, 17 certificates from 8th and 9th. 10th, we were not allowed to participate because our principal thought participation in co-curricular activities would decrease our performance in the exam. So 8th and 9th in 2 years, I think I got around 16, 17 certificates for different stage talking. So I fell in love with the stage, and that's really something that kind of brings me to full life, that whole energy. So people in my new school always looked at me like I was always confident. That's what they thought. They didn't notice that 6th and 7th I never participated. It's only from 8th that I started. So when they look at me now and they're like, you're the most confident person I ever met, I'm like, you have no idea. I'm that kid who wanted to go to the washroom and couldn't ask the teacher. I was on the floor. I was beaten every day. I was, turned in my ear. And these were all people who paved my path. All of them. Like, the friend who left me in 2nd standard, Ankita, to the new girl, Raksha, to all the 4 girls who asked nobody in the class to talk to me. They inscribed values into me. Values of not having a single friend, talk to everyone, treat everyone equally, respect everyone, be nice to everyone, whether they can help you, they don't help you. Karthika was that one single friend who kept me alive for almost a year and 2-3 months, because she was kind to me. Her kindness touched me. She was my Mother Teresa basically. And a little more into it, a friend named Angel. So in 7th standard or 8th standard, she wrote a poem for me, and that really touched me. Till 6th and 7th, I was scared every minute, like, I'm trying to be confident, I'm trying to study hard and, be on top of all the teachers so that no teacher finds a black mark on me. She was the first one. I think she's the only one who's written a poem for me, and she was like, you're so bold and your sparchness, no, you're very courageous, confident. That kind of calmed me down. It told me it's okay, you're doing fine. People are not remembering what was your, trash story in the past. So I was like, good, I recreated. So the very thing of not being talkative, not communicating, having just one friend, not talking to anybody, everything changed. I was talking to everyone. Even on the bus, I used to talk to people, random strangers. Okay, yeah, stranger talking is not a great idea. Right now, I don't do that. At least back in school, we didn't have headphones, nothing. So I used to talk. I still can, but I don't want to. Conscious choice. So, yeah, it's been a long way. Stage fear is definitely there. And nobody who knows me from first standard, second standard, or at least till sixth standard, nobody is going to notice that I was scared of the stage. I was scared of people. Forget stage. I was scared of people. I was scared of everything, everyone. From there, I built myself up. Stage fear is just, you do it once, you get on the stage twice, you get on the stage thrice, you do it again and again and again. At least for a 10 time, I'm damn sure it's over. There's no more stage fear. And courage to speak up, choosing the right thing to do. These are all very important. Your values matter, your morals matter. Be kind, be that one person. The one ray of hope. Kartika was that. Angel was that one reassurance that I needed with her one poem. I don't even think she remembers, until I recently connected and spoke to her about it. But otherwise, these two people were my hope, my only hope. So that's it. Keep smiling, stay strong, stay home, always be positive. Ta-ta.